Welcome to the deep dive. I am so glad you are joining us today because we are looking at a question that I guarantee is going to completely change the way you think about your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And that question is, what do Simone Biles and your company's next great hire have in common?
I mean, it sounds like a setup for a punchline.
Yeah, it really does.
But that intersection is actually the blueprint for organizational survival right now.
Exactly. And we are pulling our insights today from a really compelling framework put together by Stella Pop Consulting.
Right.
It's titled Train Your Team, like an Olympic athlete hire, like you're building one. And our mission for this deep dive is to basically shortcut your path to building a high-performing, incredibly resilient team.
Because that is what everyone wants, but very few know how to actually get.
Right. So we're going to unpack 4 specific non-negotiable traits that you need to be hiring for, moving way past the standard resume screening to get there.
Because the standard resume screening is fundamentally broken, especially when you compare it to how elite organizations actually build their rosters.
Oh, absolutely.
The Stella Pop framework sets up this stark, almost uncomfortable contrast right out of the gate. I mean, think about Olympic athletes. They train for years.
Decades sometimes.
Sometimes actual decades, yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it all for? A performance that lasts mere minutes. A gymnast's floor routine is roughly 90 seconds.
Oh.
A 100-meter sprint is over in 10. They dedicate their entire lives to those few seconds of absolute perfection under immense pressure. But then you look at how businesses hire, and the philosophy is completely inverted.
It's wild. Businesses treat the hiring process itself like a 100-meter sprint.
Right.
The goal isn't to find an elite performer. The goal is just to fill an empty chair as fast as humanly possible.
Just get someone in the seat.
Yeah, it is the classic warm body approach. The hiring manager is sitting there looking at a candidate, calculating that, they have a decent background, they're breathing, and they don't immediately seem like a flight risk.
Check.
Great. Hired. Next.
It is crazy when you really step back and look at it. You are placing the future of your company in the hands of people you selected, largely because they happen to be available and reasonably competent on paper at that exact moment.
And that is precisely why so many teams fracture the moment market conditions get difficult.
Yeah.
The skills listed on a resume only tell you what someone has done in the past, usually under highly specific, very stable conditions.
Which rarely exist in the real world.
Exactly. In the real world of business, the playbook is constantly falling apart. If you want a team that adapts when that happens, a team that can make smart, high-stakes calls under pressure, genuinely cares whether the business grows, you have to change your entire scouting philosophy.
You can't just look for past skills.
No. You have to scout for the underlying traits that actually condition people to win in the first place.
Okay, let's unpack this because the framework breaks down 4 exact traits, and the first one is curiosity.
But it is reframed completely as curiosity as a competitive advantage. We obviously aren't talking about the standard corporate version of curiosity here.
Right, the one where an employee passively notes during a review that they are open to feedback.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not that.
Not at all. We are talking about an elite athlete's level of obsession with improvement. The imagery used in the consulting piece is incredibly visceral.
Oh, yeah, the film watching.
Yes, it describes this intense, aggressive drive where an athlete will sit and watch film of their own mistakes until their eyes bleed.
Until their eyes bleed.
It is a proactive, almost painful level of curiosity to figure out exactly what went wrong in their mechanics and how to fix it before the next rep.
Watching film until your eyes bleed is a powerful image. But I mean, translating that to a corporate environment raises a flag for me.
How so?
Well, if we hire for intense curiosity, how do we distinguish between productive business-driving curiosity and someone who just gets easily distracted by side quests? You don't want an employee spending 40 hours going down a rabbit hole on a new software tool when they have actual deliverables due.
That is a crucial distinction. Productive curiosity is tethered to the organization's ultimate goals. It matters so much because we are operating in an environment where technology is evolving at breakneck speed.
So fast.
The strategy that your company perfected last quarter, the one that everyone got bonuses for, it is likely already stale.
Yeah.
If the people on your team are not genuinely deeply curious about the shifting landscape, if they aren't constantly learning and updating their own internal software to solve the company's problems, they are falling behind.
And consequently, the entire company is falling behind.
Exactly.
You can't afford a team that just sits around waiting for an executive memo to tell them what the new market reality looks like. By the time that memo goes out, the landscape has shifted again.
Always.
But for you, the listener who might be staring down a stack of resumes for an open role today, screening for this sounds incredibly difficult.
It is a challenge.
You can't exactly ask someone, hey, do you enjoy agonizing over your own failures? They would probably call HR. I imagine you have to look for secondary indicators.
You do. You look for highly specific behavioral tells during the interview. First, pay very close attention to whether the candidate asks you questions.
Okay.
Not the standard rehearsed, what is the culture like questions, but deep probing questions about the business model. The current market challenges the vision for the product.
They need to be interviewing you, basically.
Right. Second, look for evidence that they have taught themselves complex skills entirely outside of their official job descriptions specifically to solve a problem they encountered.
Like a marketing manager who realized the data attribution was broken, so they taught themselves SQL just to figure out where the leaks were in the funnel.
Precisely. It shows self-directed learning applied to a real obstacle. And the final, perhaps most important indicator is how they respond to the unknown right there in the room.
How do you mean?
You want to look for candidates who can look you in the eye and say, I don't know, but I will figure it out without flinching. Why, yeah.
That complete lack of defensive posturing when faced with a gap in their knowledge is the hallmark of true productive curiosity.
Running toward the unknown rather than trying to mask it with corporate jargon.
Exactly.
That makes total sense. And honestly, that intense curiosity builds the foundation for the second trait, which is discernment under pressure. If you don't have the curiosity to build good mental models of your industry, you can't possibly make good decisions when everything goes sideways.
Exactly. And the framework uses a brilliant analogy here. Picture a gymnast midair on a vault.
Okay.
They are twisting, flipping the ground is rushing up at them. In that literal split second, they cannot pull out a clipboard and run a cost-benefit analysis of where their feet should land.
They break their neck.
Right. They just have to trust their reps, read the moment, and absolutely commit to the landing. It highlights the necessity of instinct trained through rigorous experience. Here's where it gets really interesting, because in the corporate world, what you desperately need are people who can articulate risks, weigh trade-offs, and foresee the second-order effects of a decision without needing to build a 47-slide deck first.
Oh, the slide decks.
We all know the 47-slide deck person, the person who is so paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong call that they bury the decision in endless data gathering and committee meetings.
It is the paralysis by analysis trap, and it is fatal in a fast-moving market. This leads to a hard, uncomfortable truth that every leader needs to internalize.
We did.
Sometimes a perfect decision made too late is far, far worse than a good enough decision made right now. Speed is frequently a critical component of accuracy.
That is such a good point.
If you wait until you have 100% of the data to make the perfect call, the opportunity has already evaporated, your competitors have already moved on it.
The window of opportunity does not stay open just because you are still formatting your PowerPoint slides. But again, interviewing for discernment under pressure sounds like a nightmare. If I ask a candidate to tell me about a high-pressure decision they made, aren't they just going to give me a highly rehearsed STAR method story where they swoop in and save the day?
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone knows how to polish a narrative for an interview.
They absolutely will try to give you the polished narrative. Your job as the interviewer is to not let them stay there.
Okay, how do you do that?
The key is to force them to walk you through the messy gray areas of their past. You ask them to describe a specific time they had to make a significant call with highly incomplete information. Then you dig in.
You interrupt them.
You interrupt the rehearsed flow and ask, how did you weigh the trade-offs in that exact moment? What did you ultimately get wrong? And knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
So it isn't really about the success of the outcome in their story. It is about testing their real-time cognitive flexibility.
You are watching their posture and their tone as much as their words. You want the ones who can walk you through their imperfect thinking without getting defensive.
Right.
If they try to pretend they knew everything all along, or if they get prickly when you point out a logical flaw in their past decision, they do not possess elite discernment. You want the candidate who can objectively and coldly analyze their own past mistakes.
Because those are the people who will make the right split-second call when your company's servers go down at 2 a.m.
Precisely.
The defensiveness is the ultimate red flag. If they're defending their ego, they aren't assessing the problem. Which brings us right to the third trait, systems thinking or avoiding the silo trap.
Right.
Because You really cannot make a good, fast decision under pressure if you only understand your own tiny piece of the board.
Yeah.
You have to know the blast radius of your actions.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the elite athlete metaphor returns specifically viewing the athlete's body as a complex system.
Okay.
An Olympian understands that their hip flexibility isn't just an isolated metric about their hips. It dictates their running stride. Their stride affects their energy output, which affects how they sleep.
It's all connected.
That sleep directly impacts their recovery, and recovery ultimately dictates their next performance. If you tweak just one isolated element without understanding the system, the entire organism feels the ripple effect.
This translates so perfectly to the business world, and it elevates beyond just the basic communication breakdowns we usually hear about.
Right.
We aren't just talking about sales promising a feature that operations can't deliver. We are talking about mature, complex, siloed optimization.
The dangerous kind.
Yeah, for example, you have an engineering team that optimizes a new app feature, and it successfully boosts daily active users by 5%.
Sounds good on paper.
They're celebrating, they hit their OKRs.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize that the way they wrote the code spiked the back-end cloud compute costs so aggressively that it completely erased the product's profit margin.
Ouch.
Technically, the engineers hit their localized metric, but everyone is standing around like that meme with the dog drinking coffee saying this is fine while the company's still on fire. Cool.
Yeah. It is a disaster disguised as success. Yeah. And it happens constantly because people are structurally incentivized to only look at their own immediate territory.
Just hit your own numbers.
Exactly. The objective in hiring, therefore, is to find people who inherently anticipate those downstream impacts before they deploy code, before they launch a campaign, before they change a pricing tier.
Right.
You want individuals who don't just pull a lever, but who pause and ask, if I push this lever over here, what breaks over there in finance or in customer success? You are looking for people who see the whole board, not just their specific square.
Seeing the whole board is such a rare skill. Most people are conditioned to be individual contributors living in a vacuum. So how do we actually screen for systems thinking?
It takes some planning.
I imagine you have to give them a hypothetical scenario during the interview that specifically tests whether they look past their own nose.
You give them a case study directly related to the role, but you bury a landmine in it.
Landmine. You present a problem where the most obvious localized solution will definitely cause a catastrophic failure for another department. Then you sit back and watch how they solve it.
Oh, I love that.
Do they take the bait and optimize just for their own hypothetical metric? Or do they stop, ask clarifying questions about the other departments, and propose a slightly more difficult solution that preserves the integrity of the whole company?
That is brilliant. You are testing whether they are a lone wolf or a vital node in a larger organism.
Exactly.
Which leads us perfectly into the fourth and final trait on the Stella Pop list. Okay. And this one comes with a warning that it is the most elusive. It is the ownership mindset. Seeing the whole board only matters if the employee actually cares about the outcome of the game.
Exactly. And the framework points out that this is arguably the hardest trait to teach someone. In fact, it suggests it might actually be impossible to teach.
Impossible.
Going back to the athlete ownership is the person who stays late to put in the extra reps when the coach has already gone home. They aren't doing it for a gold star.
They aren't doing it because they are being monitored. They are doing it simply because they want to get better and they care deeply about the ultimate outcome. The drive is entirely internal.
I want to push back on this a little because putting in the extra reps in a corporate setting often gets conflated with a lack of boundaries or chronic burnout.
Fair point.
An ownership mindset shouldn't just mean an employee who is willing to work 80 hours a week until they collapse. What does healthy ownership actually look like when you are walking around an office or managing a remote team?
That is a very important clarification. Ownership is not about hours logged. It is about accountability for outcomes.
Okay.
In the workplace, an ownership mindset manifests as a drastic reduction in escalations. It means problems are solved at the source by the person who found them, rather than being passed up the chain of command.
Oh, that saves so much time.
It is accountability in the sense of, this project is mine, its success or failure reflects on me, and I'm going to see it through no matter what logistical obstacles pop up. These employees act as if the business outcomes truly matter to them personally without needing to be micromanaged into caring.
And crucially, they never just shrug their shoulders and say the 3 most toxic words in any business, which are not my job.
Yes.
That phrase is the ultimate anti-ownership statement. But if it is true that you really cannot teach this, if it is truly impossible to manufacture an internal drive in an employee who fundamentally just wants to clock in and clock out, then the entire weight of this falls on the screening process.
It does.
We can't train it, so we have to catch it at the door.
You have to present them with scenarios that fall entirely outside of a neat, tidy job description. In the interview, you ask them what they would do if they were browsing the company intranet on a Tuesday afternoon, and they spotted a glaring public-facing error that was technically outside of their department's responsibility.
That is a fantastic trap to set, because there is no obvious right answer that they can pull from an interview prep book.
It reveals everything about their internal wiring. You watch for that spark of engagement.
What does that look like?
The person without an ownership mindset will give you a bureaucratic, friction-free answer. They will say they'd ignore it because it's not their purview, or maybe they would write a quick email to a generic IT inbox and immediately forget about it.
The path of least resistance.
Exactly. But the person with the ownership mindset will immediately start trying to solve the problem right there in the interview chair.
Oh, wow.
They will ask follow-up questions about who owns the page, what the escalation path is, how quickly it can be taken down. You can physically see their brain working to protect the company. The spark is either there or it isn't. You cannot fake that level of intrinsic care.
Panning for that spark is a completely different way to approach a hiring conversation. It shifts the entire dynamic from a transactional review of past bullet points to a behavioral audit of their character.
It really does.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here, and it is all incredibly actionable for anyone building a team. So what does this all mean? Let's bring it all together for you.
Great.
The core thesis that we are walking away with is that hiring cannot be a passive reactive sprint just to fill a seat with a warm body. If you are deeply intentional about selecting for these 4 traits, if you screen rigorously for that bleeding eyes curiosity, that sharp discernment under pressure, that big picture systems thinking, and that deep unteachable ownership mindset, you are doing so much more than just filling an open headcount.
So much more.
You are future-proofing your organization against whatever the market throws at you next.
Yeah.
You are building an integrated team, not just a static roster.
And the distinction between a roster and a team is everything. A roster is just a list of names with impressive past achievements.
Right.
A team is a resilient organism that can adapt, think, and win together. But this raises an important question, and it is something I want you to really mull over as you analyze your own organization.
Let's hear it.
Let's say you take all this to heart. You completely revamp your hiring process. You successfully scout and hire a team of absolute Olympic athletes who possess this deep ownership mentality and brilliant systems thinking.
Sounds like a dream.
The question you have to ask yourself is, does your current management style actually give them the freedom to perform? Or are your daily micromanagement habits, your rigid approval bottlenecks, and your obsession with trivial metrics slowly draining that elite mindset right out of them?
Man.
You can hire the best talent in the world, but if you treat them like warm bodies who need to be told exactly what to do every second of the day, they will eventually stop acting like Olympians.
That is a heavy necessary thought to end on.
Yeah.
You cannot go through the effort of hiring an Olympian and then force them to walk on a treadmill.
Yeah.
It defeats the entire purpose.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gives you a completely new lens to look through the next time you have an open requisition on your desk. Don't treat it like a sprint to fill a chair. Treat it like you are scouting for the gold. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and go build your winning team.